there is a real risk that Harley Davidson may go broke. Watch this video. Hello, welcome to RevelatorAlf. I hope you're well. So in the cold studio here, and I wanted to bring you a story about Harley Davidson with the potential that they could be going broke through no real fault of their own. Okay, what's happening? So as we know, President Trump-elect, he's going to be taking over in January, isn't he? And he's planning to impose all these tariffs on other countries. Now, in one regard, you might think, hey, this is a really good idea for Americans. This is to say, well, okay, we're going to tax these imports. So the imports are going to be a lot more expensive. That's going to mean that we're going to try and get businesses to start up in the United States. And therefore, they're going to produce products in the United States, and hopefully they'll be cheaper, or they should be cheaper. So therefore, we're going to boost the economy in the United States and jobs, and everybody's going to be real happy, right? Okay. Here's the problem. The problem is that it's never really guaranteed that you're going to be able to produce products in your own country for the same price. In fact, it could be a lot more expensive. And a lot of this is down to resources, a lot of this is down to real estate, and also labor costs. Now, as we know, Harley Davidson, whilst they are an American brand in inverted commas, and they are assembled in the United States for the American market, a lot of their products, a lot of their parts, a lot of their components come from abroad. So that means there are going to be tariffs imposed on those products. Therefore, for the American domestic market, this means that each Harley Davidson is going to cost more to produce, and it could be 20 or 30% more to produce. Guess what? That's going to be passed on to the customer, or there's a real potential that could be passed on to the customer if that's what Harley Davidson do, and they are not going to absorb these costs themselves. So a company like Harley Davidson, they're already struggling with sales as it is dwindling sales, overpriced motorcycles in many people's eyes, and not to mention this whole DEI thing that's been suffering for the last few months as well, and the backlash that they've had over that. And let's not forget that much of their fan base, much of their customer base who would likely buy brand new motorcycles from Harley Davidson, they're aging out, they're getting older and older, and they're not being replaced necessarily by the next generation who want to buy these top-end motorcycles. Now, whether you believe in the whole premium brand and premium prices thing from Harley Davidson, you either like the brand or you don't. You either like the motorcycles or you don't. So it comes down to price, it comes down to cost. So are you going to buy a brand new motorcycle, or are you going to buy a used one? Okay, this is where we're at with Harley Davidson. If you can't afford a brand new motorcycle for lots of different reasons, well, guess what? Harley Davidson and Company, they're not making sales. They're not going to be able to keep the gears turning in the company because they're not getting enough revenue in. So we have seen a general decline in recent years of Harley Davidson with their sales, and it's been well reported. But this new thing from Donald Trump, on the face of it, you think, actually, this is a really good idea for Americans. This is, I'm not from a British person, this is for Americans. You think, well, this is a really good idea. Trump, he's really standing up for the people of the United States. But this could be another hammer blow, and the final hammer blow to Harley Davidson, because a lot of their imported parts that are going on their motorcycles are subject to tariffs. Therefore, that's going to mean more expensive bikes, and more expensive bikes for people who are already shying away from big expensive purchases. So what about Harley Davidson and the global markets, in other markets, let's say Europe or the Far East? Well, this could be absolutely catastrophic for them, because each individual country could retaliate with their own tariffs. And in fact, Europe did a similar kind of thing the last time around with Trump as well. Now, the way Harley Davidson tried to get around that was to say, okay, we're going to shift production for Harley Davidsons that are going to Europe and other parts of the world. We're going to shift production from the United States, and we're going to shift it to Thailand. So many of the bikes that were originally from the United States are actually now coming from Thailand. So they could get away with a lot of the tariffs that were being imposed at the time, or planned to be imposed. Now, what's happening in the UK and Europe, those tariffs that were under the Trump administration, the last Trump administration, many of those tariffs have not been dissolved. They've merely been suspended. So they can reintroduce these tariffs straight away. There's no issue there. So it really depends now how Europe and the UK, for example, as two bodies, could be the Far East, could be Australia, could be anywhere else. It really depends if they decide to impose retaliatory tactics and impose their own tariffs on American goods, whether they deem the Harley Davidsons as an American product and from an American company in the United States, or do they believe they're coming from an American company who's operating out of the Far East? So they may impose a different kind of tariffs. It really depends how they interpret this right now. Either way, the Harley Davidsons that go to Europe are already really, really expensive. They're a lot more expensive in Europe than they are in the United States, for example. So let's say you got a Harley Davidson in the United States, and let's say it's $30,000. Well, in the UK, for example, that same motorcycle may be £30,000, but exchange rates, which can fluctuate up and down, that may mean that a UK motorcycle, if you had to buy that in the United States, it will probably be about $35,000, $36,000, $37,000. So there's a substantial difference. The same with parts. Parts are more expensive over here and are across Europe as well. So if you start imposing tariffs on parts and motorcycles, then of course the price is going to go up. And that's going to alienate even more people from buying brand new motorcycles. This could be catastrophic for Harley Davidson. Now, of course, nothing is set in stone. This is merely a potential. This really depends what Donald Trump, as president, what he actually decides to do and how other countries retaliate as well. Now, it could work out. It could be that Harley Davidson start planning ahead and they can find US-based suppliers for all their products, and they can produce them at a cheaper rate or at the same rate, so there's not much of a difference. It could be that around the world, whilst motorcycles for other markets are produced in Thailand, those countries might say, okay, those motorcycles are not affected. It's only the products that are coming directly out of the United States. So it could be all good for Harley Davidson. I'm not saying this is definite, but there's a real risk here. Now, we just had KTM go into self-administration, a big motorcycle company that, you know, is just an inch away from being completely bankrupt. And I've said this for a long time for Harley Davidson. Watch out how you're operating, because external forces can work against you. And this is just one of those things. You've got a global recession, you've got high interest rates, you get inflation, and then all of a sudden, if you've got tariffs that work against you from your own government, then all of a sudden this could be a big problem. Of course, it could work the other way as well. This is only a potential right now. Watch your space. Let's see what happens. Let us know what you think of the tariffs from the United States. Are they a good thing or are they a bad thing? And how are they going to be a good thing for Harley Davidson? Do you acknowledge that a lot of their components on the motorcycles come from abroad, come from other countries? Will these tariffs affect those components? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. If you like what I do here, just keep on watching the videos and I'll catch you again. Bye now.